You are standing at the edge of a precipice that most people will never even see. This is not just another moment in your day or another video in your feed. This is the exact millisecond where the old, conditioned version of your reality begins to crack, splinter, and eventually dissolve into nothingness. By the time you reach the end of this transmission, your mind will not merely have shifted its perspective, it will have undergone a physical, neurological, and spiritual reconstruction. We are talking about a total systemic overhaul. Your neural pathways are about to be forged into entirely new configurations. The conceptual frameworks you have relied on since birth are melting away. The very foundation of your existence is being pulled out from under you, only to be replaced by a truth that contradicts everything the world has told you, yet explains every mystery you have ever felt in the depths of your soul. This is not a metaphor. This is not poetic exaggeration or philosophical fluff. Modern neuroscience confirms that when you encounter information that is fundamentally incompatible with your current worldview, your brain enters a state of high-intensity reorganization. It is a biological necessity. Your mind attempts to integrate a truth so massive that your old mental models simply cannot contain it. The quantum reality you are about to step into is the most incompatible truth ever discovered. It is the ultimate disruptor. Once you truly grasp the weight of what is being shared here, the reset of your consciousness becomes more than just a possibility. It becomes an absolute, inevitable certainty. There is a specific, singular frequency of truth that changes the trajectory of a human life forever. It is not some dry academic fact about subatomic particles in a distant laboratory. It is a profound realization that dissolves the very boundary between you and the universe. It erases the line between the one who looks and the thing being seen. It merges consciousness with manifestation in a way that makes you realize you have never been a victim of circumstances. This truth is not hidden behind complex equations or inaccessible jargon. In fact, its greatest power lies in its terrifying simplicity. Because it is so direct and so undeniable, you cannot hide from it. You cannot dismiss it as being too complicated to understand or too abstract to apply to your daily life. Its clarity is exactly what makes it so disruptive. Immediate comprehension triggers an immediate collapse of your old illusions. Most people spend their entire lives grazing on the surface of these concepts. They hear fragments about the observer effect, or the strange dance of wave function collapse. They read about superposition and quantum entanglement, yet they keep these ideas tucked away in a small corner of their minds. They treat quantum weirdness as something that only happens to tiny bits of matter in a high-tech vacuum. They continue to live their lives governed by the heavy, clunky assumptions of a classical world. They believe in solid matter, in a separate self, and in an objective reality that exists out there, independent of them. That compartmentalization is a defense mechanism. It is the brain's way of protecting itself from the total reorganization that would happen if it ever allowed those two worlds to touch. But that shield is about to vanish. Once you see the truth that makes that separation impossible, your brain will no longer have a choice. The old framework is like a container that is too small for the ocean you are trying to pour into it. It has to break. Can you feel the tension rising within you right now? Can you feel that strange mixture of electric anticipation and deep-seated resistance? That is your consciousness waking up. One part of you is hungry for the truth that changes everything, while another part is terrified to let go of the familiar, comfortable lie you have called reality for decades. This resistance is perfectly normal. Your biological brain is wired to prefer stability over accuracy. It would rather keep you locked in a false, predictable world than have you venture into a true, unpredictable one. It wants to maintain its existing neural structures at all costs, but the very fact that you are here, listening to these words, proves that you have already made a choice. You have chosen the fire of truth over the cold comfort of the illusion. You have committed to knowing, even if that knowing shatters your entire world. Quantum mechanics is not just a branch of physics that describes how tiny things behave. It is the master blueprint of the fundamental nature of reality itself. It is a description of the very fabric of your being. It applies to your thoughts, your body, your emotions, and your very experience of existing in time and space. When you finally understand what this science is saying about the relationship between the observer and the observed, the classical world you were taught to believe in will not survive the contact. The world that tells you that you are a separate entity, observing a fixed, external, and objective universe, is about to go extinct. And what rises from the ashes of that collapse is a recognition so incredibly liberating and so intensely terrifying that your brain must physically rewire itself just to accommodate the sheer scale of it. The ancient mystics understood this thousands of years ago. They reached this summit through direct, silent experience. They tried to tell us through paradoxes and teachings designed to snap the logical mind like a dry twig. Now, modern quantum physics has reached the same peak through the path of experimental evidence and mathematical certainty. Two different roads, one identical truth, and that truth is this: the observer and the observed are one and the same. Your consciousness is not a separate thing looking at reality. It is the very process that brings reality into being. You are not a passive traveler through a predetermined world. You are an active participant, a divine architect, collapsing a field of infinite probability into a single concrete experience of actuality through the mere act of your observation. This is not a philosophy. This is not a metaphor. This is an actual, physical, quantum mechanical fact. Take a deep conscious breath. Let the oxygen flood your system, because what we are about to explore next will state this truth so clearly that you will find it impossible to misunderstand or ignore. Once this comprehension takes root, the reorganization of your neural pathways begins. It might not happen in a single flash, as the brain takes time to physically restructure its connections, but it is a process that, once started, cannot be stopped. A mind that has been expanded by a truth this fundamental can never shrink back to its original size. You are moving toward a total reset of your existence. Imagine for a moment that reality is a vast, shimmering ocean of pure potential. It is a field of infinite possibilities where everything that could ever happen exists simultaneously in a state of quiet vibration. This is the quantum probability field. Before you look at it, before you measure it or think about it, it has no definite shape. It is a superposition of every possible state. It is only when you, the observer, cast your gaze upon this field that it freezes into a specific form. You are not discovering a world that was already there, waiting for you. You are determining what appears by the very act of looking. Every moment of your life, every single perception, every heartbeat is an act of creation. Reality does not exist independently of you. It comes into being through you. This is what the double-slit experiment and the delayed choice experiments have proven beyond any shadow of a doubt. Observation does not just reveal reality, it creates it. The implications of this are staggering. It means that the screen you are looking at right now, the chair you are sitting in, and the very walls around you do not exist in a definite state until you observe them. Quantum mechanically, they are probability patterns. Your observation is the catalyst that forces the universe to choose a single path from an infinite number of options. You are not a small, insignificant speck in a giant universe. You are the lens through which the universe experiences itself and collapses itself into form. Can you feel the weight of that? Can you feel your mind pushing back against this? That resistance is the sound of your old worldview trying to survive. It is the ego trying to maintain the wall of separation between you and the infinite. But the wall is paper thin and the light is already pouring through the cracks. You were taught that reality is objective and that you are just a visitor. Physics now proves that this is the greatest lie ever told. You are a co-creator of everything you perceive. You are the unified process of consciousness and manifestation. Every cell in your body is a quantum system. Every person you meet is a probability pattern collapsing into a specific presence through your interaction. The physical world is not a collection of solid objects. It is a quantum field responding to your presence. The solidity you feel, the independence of the objects around you, the feeling that the world is just there, regardless of what you do. All of these are appearances generated by the process of observation. They are not pre-existing conditions. As this truth begins to seep into your unconscious mind, the subject-object duality that has defined your life starts to evaporate. There is no longer you and the world. There is only the unified field of consciousness observing itself. You are a localized pattern of the universe, looking back at itself and collapsing itself into the form of a human life. This is the ultimate brain reset. It is the destruction of the foundation of separation and the birth of a foundation of unity. This is the evolution of your consciousness from a limited classical perspective into a vast quantum understanding that is more accurate, more powerful, and infinitely more alive. As we move forward, we will dismantle the specific walls of resistance that your brain will try to build. We will explore how to recognize these patterns so you can move through them rather than getting stuck. Because this journey is not about losing your mind. It is about finding the true nature of reality. It is about moving from being a victim of fate to being a conscious participant in the emergence of existence. Your brain is ready for this. Your soul has been waiting for this. The transition may be disorienting, but the result is a clarity that most humans will never know. You are not just learning new information. You are undergoing a spiritual and biological initiation. The old world is fading. The quantum truth is here, and you are the one bringing it into focus. Prepare yourself for the next phase of this awakening as we go deeper into the mechanics of your new reality. The reset is in progress. The light is turning on, and for the first time, you are truly seeing. Before your brain can fully anchor itself in this new quantum reality, it is going to fight back with every ounce of its conditioned strength. You must understand that this internal conflict is not a sign of failure. It is the ultimate proof that the truth is actually working. Your mind is a master of self-preservation, and it currently perceives this profound shift as a direct threat to its very survival. It will attempt to throw up massive walls of denial, intricate corridors of doubt, and hidden chambers of compartmentalization just to keep your old, familiar world from falling into pieces. But identifying these resistance patterns is the secret key to transcending them forever. When you finally see the trap for what it is, the trap no longer has any power over your journey. The first massive wall your ego will try to build is the wall of intellectual dismissal. Your logical mind will whisper that all of this is merely a philosophical interpretation, a simple opinion, or an unproven theory that does not require your full attention. It desperately wants to label this as fringe or speculative so it can safely ignore the implications and return to its slumber. But the mathematics do not lie, and the laboratory results are absolutely undeniable to anyone who looks. Every single quantum experiment performed over the last century confirms one devastating fact. The act of observation dictates the outcome of reality. Whether you look at the classic Copenhagen interpretation or the mind-bending many worlds theory, the core truth remains unchanged. The observer is the pivot point of all existence. This is not mere speculation. It is the most rigorously tested and verified science in the history of the human species. The second wall is the trap of compartmentalization. This is the clever trick where your brain says, okay, maybe this strange stuff happens to tiny electrons in a vacuum, but it has absolutely nothing to do with my coffee cup, my house, or my career. It tries to create a hard border between the microscopic world and the macroscopic world you touch every day. But ask yourself this: what is your coffee cup actually made of? What is your physical body made of? Every single object in your environment is a massive collection of quantum particles following quantum rules. There is no magic line in the universe where the laws of physics suddenly change because an object got bigger. A process called decoherence might make the world look solid and classical, but underneath that thin veil, the quantum ocean is still churning with infinite potential. You are a quantum system living in a quantum universe, and the scale of an object does not change its fundamental nature. Then comes the deep-seated fear of solipsism. A part of you might panic and ask, if I am the one collapsing reality, does that mean I am all alone in a void? Are other people just figments of my own imagination? This is a terrifying thought that causes the brain to recoil, but it is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of the quantum truth. You are not a solitary god trapped in a vacuum. You are a single, beautiful node of observation in a vast, interconnected web of consciousness. We are all fundamentally entangled. Other people are their own unique points of observation, collapsing reality from their own perspectives, just as you do from yours. We are co-creating a shared, consistent experience through quantum correlation foundations that bind us together. You are not creating the others as puppets. You are dancing with them in a unified field of infinite potential where every observer matters. The fourth barrier your mind will create is the avoidance of responsibility. Your ego might try to retreat because it fears the immense weight of this creative power. It thinks, if my observation creates my reality, then every painful thing that has ever happened must be my fault. This sense of guilt is a heavy burden that the brain tries to dodge by pretending to be a helpless victim of external circumstances. But listen closely. Participation is not the same as absolute, conscious, or egoic control. Most of the collapse happens at an unconscious level, shaped by probability distributions, the laws of physics, and the collective field of all observers. This is not a message of blame. It is a message of ultimate empowerment. It is about realizing you are no longer a powerless leaf in the wind, but a conscious force that can finally influence the direction of the breeze. The final and perhaps most intense resistance is existential destabilization. When you truly realize the world is not solid or fixed, you might feel like you are losing your grip on everything you once knew. It feels like the solid ground beneath your feet has suddenly turned into deep water. This is the death of the old limited self, and it is naturally disorienting to the nervous system. But remember, you cannot build a new skyscraper on a foundation of rotting wood. The old, false certainties must dissolve so that a new, true stability can emerge from the light. Do not fight this feeling of being lost. Do not judge the fear when it arises. Just witness it as an objective observer. Like a summer storm passing through a valley, this resistance will eventually exhaust itself and dissolve into the air. Now, we must peel back the curtain on what the word observation actually means in this context, because this is where most people get lost in the fog. Many people believe that to observe something, you have to be staring at it with intense, conscious, and unwavering focus. But in the quantum realm, observation is far more primal and constant than a simple thought. An observation is any physical interaction that creates information that could, in principle, be known by a consciousness. It is a physical handshake between two systems. When a single photon bounces off your skin, that is an act of observation. When a sound wave vibrates your eardrum or a molecule hits a receptor in your nose, that is an act of observation. These interactions cause the probability field to collapse into a definite state long before your conscious mind even realizes it. This means you are a collapsing machine by your very nature. You are performing billions upon billions of quantum observations every single second of your life, mostly without even knowing it. Every sensory input and every neural firing in your brain is an act of collapsing the infinite into the specific. You do not have to try to observe. It is what you are and what you do as a conscious being. However, this does not make your conscious mind irrelevant in the process. While the unconscious interactions build the basic foundation of your world, your conscious attention acts like a steering wheel for the future. Where you place your focus and what you intend to see can actually shift the underlying probability distributions. By holding a specific awareness, you can influence which possibilities are more likely to manifest from the field. Think of it like this. Your unconscious mind handles the sheer volume of the world, while your conscious mind sets the frequency for the very next moment. You are not an omnipotent dictator of every subatomic particle, but you are a deeply influential participant in the continuous emergence of your own life. You operate within the constraints of probability, but those constraints are far more flexible than the classical worldview ever allowed you to believe. This is not magic. It is the fundamental mechanics of human experience. It is the bridge between the seen and the unseen, the exact point where the soul meets the substance of the universe. By understanding this, you move from being a spectator in a movie you cannot control to being the director of a live performance that responds to your every move. Have you ever wondered why life feels so repetitive and fixed? It is because you have been collapsing the same probability patterns over and over again through habit. Your brain has become a closed loop of observation, constantly looking for the same problems, the same limitations, and the same outcomes. But the moment you become aware of the act of observation itself, the loop begins to break. You start to see the gaps in the fabric of reality. You start to realize that the solid walls of your life are actually made of shimmering fluid potential that is waiting for a new command. This realization is the beginning of the Great Reset. It is the moment you stop asking what reality reality is going to do to you and start asking what you are going to do with reality. Every time you resist this truth, you are simply reinforcing the old, dying neural pathways of separation. But every time you lean into the disorientation, you are forging new pathways of unity and power. The discomfort you feel is the sound of your old self being dismantled so that something far greater can be built in its place. Do not be afraid of the void. The void is not empty. It is the source of all things. It is the field of infinite probability where your new life is currently waiting to be observed into existence. You are not losing your mind. You are finally waking it up from a long classical dream. As you move through your day after hearing this, try to notice the handshakes happening all around you. Notice the light hitting your eyes, the air touching your skin, and the sounds reaching your ears. Recognize them as the quantum observations they truly are. Feel the world collapsing into definiteness every time you turn your head. You are the creator of this moment. You are the one who makes the choice between the infinite and the actual. This is your power, your heritage, and your new foundation. The old world is gone, and the new one is appearing with every breath you take. Are you ready to see just how deep this ocean goes? Wait for the next part as we explore the specific practices that will allow you to sense these probabilities before they even collapse. We will learn how to dance with the field rather than being crushed by it. We will explore the true nature of time and how you can influence the past and the future from the eternal now. Your brain is already changing as you process these words. The reset is not something that will happen in the future. It is something that is happening right now in the very core of your being. You are becoming a quantum observer, and nothing will ever be the same again. Welcome to the architecture of the new you. The complexity of your existence is far more beautiful than the simple mechanical lie you were sold as a child. You are not a machine in a world of machines. You are a living, breathing, collapsing point of pure consciousness in a universe that is made of light and thought. This is the truth that sets you free. This is the truth that the world has tried to hide from you, but the veil has been lifted, and you can never unsee what you have now understood. The journey has only just begun, and the potential is truly limitless. Keep your awareness sharp, keep your heart open, and prepare for the next level of this systemic overhaul. The light is turning on, and for the first time, you are truly the one holding the switch. To truly anchor this transformation, we must move beyond the intellectual and step into the experiential. Understanding a concept is like looking at a map of the ocean, but experiencing the truth is like diving into the deep blue and feeling the pressure of the water against your skin. This is where the reconstruction of your reality becomes visceral. 6 years ago, this very realization struck like a bolt of lightning during an intensive physics study, and the impact was so massive that my own internal world underwent a total, literal reset over the following weeks. Before that moment, there was a comfortable wall between the weird math of particles and the solid world of my daily life. But once the professor articulated the truth clearly, that you are not observing an independent reality, but collapsing a field of infinite probability through your own gaze, the wall shattered instantly. The aftermath of that shattering was not immediate peace. It was a profound, swirling disorientation. Have you ever questioned if the ground beneath you would remain solid if you stopped looking at it? That was the level of my instability. The foundation of a separate self observing an objective world was gone, but the new structure had not yet been built. This gap is what we call the transition phase, and it can feel like you are renovating a house while you are still living inside of it. There is dust everywhere. The old rooms are being torn down, and for a while, you have no place to rest. But this temporary chaos is the only way to achieve a higher state of organization. It took 3 full months for my perception to stabilize into a new normal, where every interaction with an object or a person was recognized as a mutual act of quantum collapse, rather than 2 separate things bumping into each other in the dark. You must understand that this disorientation is not a sign that you are losing your mind. It is the sign that your brain is adjusting to a far more accurate version of reality. The old neural pathways built on the lie of separation must be starved of their fuel so that new empowered pathways can be forged. Do not fight the confusion. Do not try to run back to the classical certainty that was comfortable but ultimately false. Instead, you must provide your brain with experiential evidence. Your mind needs to feel the quantum truth in action to believe it. To facilitate this, we will now explore 6 powerful practices designed to train your perception to see the world as it truly is, a fluid, shimmering field of potential. The first practice is what we call observation awareness. Most people focus entirely on what they are seeing, but you must begin to notice the act of seeing itself. Right now, as you listen to these words or look at the light in your room, do not just absorb the information. Feel your attention landing on the objects. Sense your consciousness engaging with the environment like a physical touch. This simple shift creates a meta-awareness that reveals observation as an active, creative process rather than a passive reception of data. You are the one reaching out into the field and pulling a specific experience into existence. The second practice is pre-observation awareness, which involves noticing the pregnant silence before an experience manifests. Before you turn your head to look around a corner or before you check the time on a clock, pause for 1 single second. Notice that the space you are about to observe has an uncertain, fuzzy quality to it. You do not know exactly what will be there until your gaze hits it. Then observe and watch how your attention brings a definite, sharp experience into your awareness. This practice helps you recognize that definiteness is something you create, not something that exists before you arrive. The third practice is probability sensing. Before you make a choice, whether it is as small as choosing which direction to walk or as large as making a career move, pause and feel the field of potential. Imagine multiple outcomes existing simultaneously in a state of vibration. Feel the openness of the moment before your choice collapses all those possibilities into a single manifested path. This trains your brain to recognize the quantum nature of reality operating in your direct everyday life. The fourth practice is observation variation. Look at a simple scene in your room. First, look at it normally, then look at it again, but this time, search specifically for the color blue. Notice how the blue objects seem to pop out of the background, changing the entire feel of the room. Then, look for patterns or look for beauty. Each time you shift your focus, a different aspect of the probability field collapses into your experience. This proves that your focus is the primary tool that determines which version of reality manifests for you. The fifth practice is conscious collapse intention. Before you enter a room or start a conversation, set a deliberate intention for what you wish to observe. You might choose to observe connection or opportunity or peace. Then, step into the situation and notice how the experience aligns with your intention more than random chance would ever allow. While you do not have absolute control over every detail, your conscious intention acts as a powerful influence on the probability distributions, shaping the world as it emerges from the quantum field. The final practice is collective observation recognition. When you are with another person, observe a shared object together. Notice the overlap where your experiences align. This is the result of quantum entanglement, creating a consistent, shared reality. But also pay attention to the subtle variations in how you each perceive the details. This confirms that you are not a solitary creator in a void, but a participant in a grand, co-creative dance with billions of other observation points. As you move through these practices, a deeper layer of reorganization will begin, the temporary loss of all certainty. This is often the most frightening part of the journey. You may find yourself questioning everything. Do I exist as a continuous self when no one is looking at me? Is the past a fixed history, or is it a probability that I'm collapsing right now through my memories? Does the world continue to exist when I am asleep? These questions can create an existential void that feels like losing your grip on reality. But you must realize that this uncertainty is actually a sign of maturity. The certainty of the old world was a childish simplification. It required the universe to be smaller and more mechanical than it actually is. True adult understanding includes paradox, complexity, and the beauty of not knowing. You are outgrowing the false comfort of the classical worldview to step into the infinite power of the quantum truth. This period of not knowing is the demolition phase that must occur before the new foundation can be laid. I experienced this myself for 2 intense months, doubting the very nature of my memories and the independence of other people, but I allowed the uncertainty to exist without retreating into the old lies. Eventually, my brain reorganized sufficiently that new, quantum certainties emerged. These are not fixed certainties, but functional understandings that allow you to navigate the probability field with grace and power. You begin to see yourself as a localized pattern of consciousness affecting the field through your every observation. You recognize that while you are not an omnipotent dictator of reality, you are an essential, influential participant in its continuous emergence. This individual reset you are undergoing is part of a much larger collective movement. Thousands of people across the globe are currently experiencing this same neural restructuring. We are witnessing a species-wide evolution of consciousness, shifting from the outdated classical model to a vibrant quantum foundation. As more people complete this reorganization, a powerful morphic field is being created, making it easier for others to follow. You are benefiting from the struggle of the pioneers who came before you, and your own integration serves to strengthen the field for everyone else. We are approaching a threshold where this understanding will move from the fringe of science to the very baseline of our culture. Take another breath and let the scale of this journey sink in. You are not just changing your mind, you are participating in the evolution of the human race. The disorientation you feel is the birth pangs of a new way of being. In the next phase of our exploration, we will look at the ultimate choice that lies ahead of you, the choice that determines whether this reorganization completes its work or whether you retreat back into the shadows of the old world. Are you ready to choose the truth, no matter how disruptive it might be? The reset is deepening, and the light of the quantum field is waiting for your next observation. What you are experiencing in the quiet depths of your soul is not a solitary event. You are not some isolated anomaly drifting through a vacuum of confusion. Right now, at this very millisecond, thousands of individuals across this planet are undergoing the exact same neurological and spiritual restructuring. This is nothing less than a massive, species-wide evolution of consciousness. Humanity is collectively shedding its outdated classical skin and reorganizing its entire cognitive architecture around the vibrant reality of the quantum field. Every time a single mind completes this reset, the collective field of human awareness transforms. We are moving from a world organized around the false, heavy assumptions of separation and toward a future anchored in the accurate electric truth of participation. Have you ever wondered why this shift feels so urgent and so inevitable right now? We can look to the concept of morphic resonance to find our answer. As more and more people successfully integrate this quantum truth into their neural structures, a powerful energetic pattern strengthens within the collective field of our species. The first pioneers who braved this reorganization had to do so without a map, without a guide, and without any cultural validation. They faced pure, unadulterated cognitive disruption in total isolation. But because they succeeded, they left a trail in the consciousness of humanity. They proved that the human brain can survive the total demolition of its worldview and emerge stronger, clearer, and more capable than ever before. Today, you are standing on the shoulders of every physicist, mystic, and ordinary seeker who allowed their brain to be reset by the truth. Their courage has created a reservoir of support that makes your own transition smoother, faster, and far more likely to reach its glorious completion. This is no longer a fringe movement or a hidden secret. The world of authority is finally catching up to the reality you are now perceiving. We see it in the mainstream rise of quantum computing, the revelation of quantum effects in biological systems, and the emerging neuroscience of quantum consciousness. You are not reorganizing your mind around a beautiful myth. You are aligning your biology with the most advanced science of the 21st century. This validation acts as a powerful wind at your back, reducing the friction of your transition and confirming that the disorientation you feel is simply the process of becoming more accurate. We are approaching a global tipping point, a threshold where quantum understanding will become the new cultural baseline for the entire human race. Your individual evolution is a vital contribution to this collective awakening. However, as you stand at this crossroads, a critical choice is beginning to emerge. This is the moment that determines whether your reorganization reaches its final destination or whether you retreat back into the comfortable shadows of the old world. It is a choice between embracing the temporary chaos of a brain reset or seeking refuge in the false certainty of a classical lie. Can you feel your ego trying to sabotage the process? The ego thrives on certainty, stability, and the illusion of a separate solid self. It experiences the dissolution of the subject-object boundary as a literal death threat. It will manufacture every possible rationalization to stop the reset. It will tell you that quantum mechanics doesn't apply to real life, or that you need to be practical, or that this is all just a complex interpretation. These are simply the desperate gasps of a dying worldview trying to protect its territory. You must understand that you are entering what ancient traditions have often called the dark night, or a profound crisis of faith. It is that terrifying interval where the old house has been demolished, but the new one has not yet been built. You are standing on a foundation that no longer exists, staring into a void of not knowing, but you cannot build something eternal on a foundation of sand. The old structures must be cleared away. In this foundationless period, the only thing that can carry you through is your commitment to the truth. Will you trust the process and allow the light to rebuild you from the inside out, or will you panic and try to reconstruct the old rotting walls just to feel safe again? The cost of turning back now is far higher than the discomfort of moving forward. Once you have glimpsed the quantum nature of reality, you can never truly unknow it. You can try to suppress it, deny it, or distract yourself from it, but the seed of truth has already been planted in your consciousness. If you retreat now, you will be forced to live in a state of agonizing cognitive dissonance. You will be someone who knows the world is a fluid field of potential, yet you will be forcing yourself to act like a separate, powerless observer. That divided state is a corrosive way to live. It is far better to endure the temporary suffering of reorganization than the permanent corrosion of living a lie. I faced this exact choice 4 months into my own journey. My ego screamed for me to return to the simple mechanical world where things made sense. But I chose to trust the uncertainty. I chose to let the demolition finish. And what emerged on the other side was a clarity and a liberation that I could never have imagined. Once the reset completes, your entire way of perceiving the universe will be fundamentally transformed. It isn't just that you will have new information, it's that your brain will literally process the world differently. When you look at an object, you will no longer see a thing that exists independently of you. You will directly perceive a probability field collapsing into a definite form through the very act of your observation. This isn't an intellectual exercise, it becomes your baseline physical reality. You see the process of creation happening in every millisecond, in every shadow, and in every spark of light. Your perception of yourself will also undergo a radical shift. The heavy, solid me that you have carried for decades begins to feel like a light, fluid pattern in a vast ocean of consciousness. You recognize that you are a localized point of the universe, looking back at itself. You still function as an individual, you still use the word I, and you still make decisions, but you do so with the realization that the self is a beautiful, conventional construct rather than a hard, unchangeable reality. The walls of the ego have become glass. You can see through them into the infinite field that connects you to everything and everyone. In this new state, your understanding of causation changes from mechanical determination to probabilistic co-creation. You stop seeing life as a series of random events that happen to you and start seeing it as a series of manifestations that emerge through you. You are no longer a victim of the past. You see the past not as a fixed, unchangeable history, but as a probability pattern that influences the present. And you see the future as a wide-open field of potential that is waiting for the command of your present moment observation. Time itself begins to feel more fluid and less like a prison. You are the one standing at the center of the timeline, collapsing the infinite now into the specific here. This recognition creates a deep sense of participatory responsibility. You realize that you are always collapsing reality, whether you are aware of it or not. Every thought, every expectation, and every subtle shift in your attention is a quantum measurement that affects the field. Manifestation is no longer a technique you use once a day during a meditation session. It is the continuous, natural function of your reorganized brain. You are constantly dancing with the universe, influencing the probability distributions of your life through the quality of your consciousness. Do you see the power that is waiting for you on the other side of this reset? You are moving toward a baseline cognition reorganization, where reality is recognized as a fluid, co-creative process. You are shedding the victim mentality of the classical world and stepping into the sovereign role of a quantum participant. This is the new normal. It is a way of being that is more accurate, more aligned with the nature of the universe, and more capable of navigating the complexities of human existence. The transition is demanding, yes, but the reward is nothing less than the keys to the kingdom of your own experience. Hold on to your awareness as we prepare to enter the final stage of this transmission. We will look at how this reorganization becomes an irreversible part of your biology and what it truly means to live as a citizen of the quantum age. Your brain is almost there. The old pathways have withered and the new ones are glowing with the light of truth. You are about to cross the point of no return. Take one more deep breath and prepare to fully anchor yourself in the reality you were born to inhabit. The reset is almost complete. Are you ready to see what happens when the observer finally realizes they are the observed? The final threshold is right in front of you. Let's step through it together. There comes a definitive point in this journey where the reorganization of your mind becomes an irreversible force. This is not because your old, limited perception of the world can never resurface, as it may still arise during moments when your awareness feels small or contracted. Rather, it is because your physical neural architecture has been fundamentally and permanently altered in a way that simply cannot be undone. You can try to hide from the light, or you can try to suppress the truth you have encountered, but the foundational shift in how your brain processes the fabric of existence is now a part of your biological reality. This permanence is driven by the incredible power of neural plasticity, which is your brain's natural capacity to rebuild its structure based on new, deep levels of understanding. When you first touch this quantum truth, the old highways of classical thought remained the dominant path for your consciousness. But through your practices, through every single moment you spent recognizing that your observation collapses probability into form, you have been carving out entirely new neural canyons. As you repeatedly witness your participation in the manifestation of your life, those new pathways grow stronger and more vibrant with every passing second. Meanwhile, the old, dusty roads of separation and victimhood begin to wither away through a lack of use. Eventually, a sacred threshold is crossed where the quantum organized pathways become your absolute default. Your mind no longer has to struggle to remember that the world is a fluid field of potential. It simply processes every sensory input through that lens automatically. At this stage, the transformation is no longer a temporary shift in your perspective, but a permanent upgrade to your internal architecture. You have effectively outgrown the old model of the world, and it is now impossible for your consciousness to fit back into that smaller, restricted box. Consider the moment humanity realized that the Earth was not the center of the universe, but was actually orbiting the sun. Once that heliocentric truth was fully understood and integrated into the collective mind, it became impossible to genuinely return to the old geocentric belief. You might still use the phrase, "the sun is rising," for practical convenience. But in the core of your being, you know the truth of the celestial dance. In the exact same way, you might still operate within the conventions of a solid, classical world to navigate your daily tasks, but you can no longer truly believe that you are a separate observer of an independent reality. The reorganization is complete, and the light has been permanently turned on. You cannot unknow that you are an observation point collapsing the infinite probability field into the specific actuality of your life. As you settle into this reorganized state, you will begin to notice extraordinary cognitive capacities that were previously locked away behind the walls of your old perception. You will find yourself developing a natural ability to sense the vast field of probability before it even collapses into a definite event. You will experience a new faculty for recognizing in real time how your own observation is affecting the outcomes of the situations you walk into. This is not a skill you have to practice. It is a natural function of a brain that is now structured around the truth. You are becoming a master navigator of a participatory universe, sensing the quantum field beneath the surface of the solid world in a way that the classical mind could never even imagine. This is what it means to live with a reset brain. It is the birth of a new way of functioning that is more aligned with the actual nature of the universe than anything the world has ever taught you. Even 8 years after my own initial encounter with this truth, the reorganization remains as solid and foundational as ever. I cannot return to that old, unconscious way of being even if I wanted to, because the neural pathways of separation simply no longer hold any power. This is the journey you are currently walking. Every single video and every single teaching on this channel is a dedicated pulse of energy designed to support this specific neural restructuring. We are not here to give you information to store in a dusty corner of your mind. We are here to provide the frequency required for a total systemic overhaul. We are participating in the evolution of the human species, moving from the darkness of a limited classical worldview and into the blinding light of quantum comprehension. If you can feel this irreversible shift happening within the core of your being right now, if you can feel your own neural structures rebuilding themselves around this profound truth, then it is time to anchor that recognition in the physical world. This is the final step of the initiation. I want you to go to the comments right now and write the phrase, "Brain reset confirmed." This is not just a sentence, it is a declaration to the universe and to your own unconscious mind that the transformation is real, that the reset is currently happening, and that your cognition is shifting from a classical to a quantum foundation. By stating this, you are acknowledging that the truth has penetrated deeply enough to trigger a permanent change in your neural architecture. You are confirming that you are no longer a separate observer, but a participating consciousness collapsing reality through the power of your own gaze. Take one final deep and conscious breath. Feel the truth sinking into every single cell of your body. You are not a passive spectator in a pre-written play. You are the one who collapses the probability field into the experienced reality of this very moment. Before you look, the world exists as a shimmering superposition of all possible outcomes. Your observation is the divine catalyst that causes one of those possibilities to freeze into the definite experience you perceive. You are the creator of the room you are standing in, the sensations in your body, and the screen you are currently observing. Everything you perceive exists in its definite state because you are here to observe it into existence. In the days to come, when your brain tries to crawl back into the familiar shadows of the old perception, simply remember who and what you truly are. Remind yourself, I am not a separate observer. I am a participating consciousness collapsing probability through my observation. This repeated recognition is the fuel that will allow the reorganization to reach its final, stable, and permanent completion. You have been touched by a truth so fundamental and so disruptive that your brain had no choice but to reset. All of your previous ways of thinking were built on a foundation that has now dissolved, and the new structure is standing tall. You have reached a level of comprehension that has permanently altered the trajectory of your existence. Welcome to the dawn of your new reality. Welcome to the incredible power of a quantum mind. You are an observing consciousness, a master of collapse, and a co-creator of everything that emerges from the infinite field. The reset is finished, and the reorganization is complete. You are finally home in the truth of what you have always been. If you're ready to expand your consciousness and step into your next quantum leap, subscribe now, leave a comment below with your confirmation, and share this message with someone who is ready to awaken. Together we are building the future of human awareness, one reset at a time. The light is on, the field is open, and the choice is yours. What will you choose to observe next? We will see you in the next transmission as we continue this journey into the infinite potential of the quantum reflection. Your new life is waiting. All you have to do is look.